I mean, no, wait, happy November 11th. It's just another day. Except a whole bunch of us have been talking about 11/11 for a little while, and this year especially is 11/11/11, which is especially a special. And what's been kind of approaching is this union, divine union, this sort of sense of oneness and unity within our hearts. And that momentum of union is manifesting in our lives. So greater abundance, greater serendipities, greater, I would say, like obvious, clear, directed manifestation as well. So the subtleties with which we're directing thought and the subtleties with which we're connected to heart and presence is just becoming more tipping points within the collective energy field that's like proper waking up, right? So like where we've had these waves and these indigos kind of leading the way, and then this next wave, light worker generation, just kind of learning from the other sensitives and the empaths, and people say gatekeepers and bridge builders. I definitely think All to Love is like a bridge builder kind of community. So but then I don't, I'm not, I'm not like a label person at all. I just literally believe that every being is completely uniquely divine, which is the paradox of all of this. Ding! Divine paradox. That is like a huge theme for this date, this November 11th. 11/11th, if you imagine the two pillars, both pillars are facing each other. So there's like a paradoxical, I guess, in parallel timeline. And then not to mention the four pillars, which is like the share I did 2 days ago, actually really inspired to talk about today, because I'm not a numerologist typically at all, and I'm not, I don't typically talk about dates and numbers, and increasingly, probably just like the last week, some of my intuitive energy reports, different numbers have been coming in, and I don't remember. I don't remember if November 11th was a significant day, but I think it was. I think it was because I did, yeah, I woke up 2 days ago just with like a ding, must talk about November 11th. And isn't it interesting that around this time we start to see the red poppies and we start to see the Remembrance Day appeal? And I remember having an insight about that years ago. Just this thing in my awareness about our culture and like how we kind of grieve death or bury the dead and or mourn the dead, and or like with the Remembrance Day, there's something in me as well that we repeat these war cycles, and that we're from such a young age, we're just programmed and taught like, don't forget, you must remember, there is war, and like divide and conquer, and there's this overwhelming fearful presence in our world. Risha, good morning, my friend. And so there's like this mass bombardment, Remembrance Day, like it's a national holiday, nearly, not, but you know what I mean, like around the Western world to remember. So and then again, this is like a fine line, because of course we remember, of course most of us still had grandparents who like flew in World War II, or yeah, survivors of different wars, right? And yet there's something like tricky within that, because in the symbolism of Remembrance Day, what we're doing is like triggering our psyches to remember war, i.e. project more war, right? Like, and it's easy for us to remember in the sense that like all of the crazy suffering pain in the world is just obvious, it's just there, right? And so this great awakening of us reconnecting and remembering is us remembering that we can choose, that we can actually like embrace and love the war cycle on this planet, and all involved with it, all innocent beings involved in these war cycles, and like contain it with love, like literally wrap your mind, heart, entire imagination around every single war that ever got perpetuated on this planet, and just love it all. Like unify the conflict, unify the divide and conquer energy on this planet by unifying it from within your own heart field and your own imagination. We do have the power to do that. Again, we're just not typically trained to use our mind in such a directed and sovereign and conscious way, right? Like we so easily forget because the emotional, the limbic system, the emotional body is so easily triggered. And then something else, this is like another layer of awareness where I'm like, so oftentimes people are actually just in their pain body. If you know the language from Eckhart Tolle, he uses pain body. I call it the default setting, which is where we default into emotional reactivity, usually stemming from a divide and conquer, blame and attack thought stream. So thought streams that make us against them, right? Which is pretty dominant in how we're trained to think, right? Black and white, us and them, left and right. We think in those terms. And so our reactivity based on our past of survival on different timelines on this planet, that's the idea of the reptilian, right? We're still being triggered. So all this stress, all of this war, all of these agendas, all of these, yeah, just fearful, stressful programming in our culture, in our news, in our movies, all of that triggers that reptilian brain within us, which is why humanity in a dominant sense is stressed, and like fight or flight is in like a fearful flight or flight state of being. And then once you get people triggered like that, we don't make as good choices, so that's often like, and then our bodies can't process stuff in the same proper way, and then ultimately we just go round and round in circles, which is part of the 3D reality. The 3D reality, the matrix. It's part of that program is just loops. It just loops. Like Groundhog Day. We just go round and round. Like, you know, and we're like walking through the motions of our lives without connecting the mind to heart in a remembrance of our divinity. The remembrance of that, like, I am the perceiver. Thus, if I connect these two, boom, you have like a broader field of awareness to work with. So like your thinking capacity becomes more heightened because you're not unconsciously going over patterns in your mind of fear or on all the drama, crazy drama that we get fed by the mainstream media, right? How's everybody doing this morning? Good morning. 8 minutes into the sesh, me just a rambling on, because that's what I like to do. I like to wake up in the morning and talk to you guys about anything that comes into my mind. Sunday sessions are well and truly here, you guys. I almost forgot about it last night, I'm not gonna lie. And then I had to keep remembering myself, no, Molly, you do have to wake up tomorrow. You've got your Sunday sessions for everybody. I did a very brief share on Facebook. If some of you guys don't know, I've started going live on Facebook most days again as well. I'm gonna put the words out because people don't listen. Rochelle, only the right people listen. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like, this is something I've just accepted. I'm like, there are just people who don't understand what I'm saying. There's randomly people who I deeply offend for some reason, and they offend me, and that's okay, and we're good, you know? You can still have your camaraderie love, but again, not hold hands and sing Kumbaya with people. But like, you know, when you're on the path, eventually you realize, oh, you can't actually understand what I'm saying. Like, people don't feel the resonance. And then it goes both ways. I was joking with a friend last night about that, about like, for real, like, it's such a thing, having this heart of compassion that like, you have so much love and respect for like everyone and everything, including the animals and the creatures, right? That represent the vegan. But we resonate different. We res different. We like, so it's like, it's that kind of, when you're so compassionate and you can have utmost respect and utmost like bow your head in grace to like other brothers and sisters, but in your beingness you can totally vibrate and know your vibration is in alignment or not. Resonance, right? You can walk in. Animals have been swarming around me lately. What is that about, Rochelle? It's like St. Francis of Assisi. Yeah, you know, it's resonance. It's like, I think from a young age we know our resonance. Again, we just often get taught to we often get taught not to listen to the intuition, so we start to disconnect. We're not in truth in alignment with our vibration, so we don't know how to listen to our resonance, and we're kind of constantly, i.e. patterns, chasing our tail. You trigger folks confusion for being direct because the free-minded appreciate. Omega Piscium, yeah, for sure. My whole mish is like freedom and sovereignty. So like the human being claiming their freedom, because we got programmed out of like remembering the truth of our creatorship, that we are like, this is the craziest thing about this reality. We are like fucking superheroes, you guys. I don't try to trigger conflict. No, of course you don't. No, of course you don't. But sometimes we can't avoid it. You know, we do choose this. And this is, I watched a video at some point about like the Christ consciousness, this idea, right? And everyone's got different ideas about stuff, but it's our choosing. There's a great quote, another friend who says, we are our choices. And damn, that's annoying, isn't it? Like, this is the thing about, especially entitled privilege. Boy, oh boy, do we have a hard time with, I never said that. No, I could not attract that. Or did it, like, we want all the cookie cutter fucking rainbows of law of attraction or spirituality. We want the facade. We want the ego projection of this, that, or the other. But when it comes to the true alignment of our beingness, we don't want to have to own our shitty thoughts. We don't want to have to own our jealousy. We don't want to have to own our resentment. And that's kind of the shit, you know. That's endeavoring true expansive consciousness, is to be willing to endeavor your own darkness. It's like the fucking Jedi Masters. The greatest Jedis in Star Wars, they had to go into their darkness. They couldn't run away from the darkness to conquer the darkness within. They had to face the darkness, go straight into it, and then become the light that's merged with the darkness. So it's like every single one of us on the path of empowerment basically has to endeavor our deepest, darkest shadows, our deepest, darkest aspects, and literally remember that we are that too. And the only way we can continue to choose greater love, greater light, greater abundance, greater harmony, greater magnificence is by endeavoring greater density, greater darkness. And this is the weird bit of energy work, is that you're literally transforming infinite timelines that you're not desiring to create no more. And there's another insight for today specifically. It's the 0 point gateway. So it's like, and oh my God, I don't know if you guys can feel it, but like, I just know without a shadow of doubt in my entire beingness, I'm like, I never got this far before, guys. I don't know if you guys do the whole past life thing, but I know for a fact that I never got this far. I never, in a lifetime, that is. So every other lifetime, I got the boot. I got killed, or something happened, and then boom, you come back, and boom. And there's an intense reason, and I don't know how you know, but you just know with the intuition. All those years ago with the awakenings, I knew that it was like a light dark wave, and that the wave, what we were here to do was bring that wave into harmony, bring that wave into a greater uplifted harmonic frequency. It's one and the same as the planet's ascension, but we came for the ride, which is just fucking incredible. And part of that is that the ride that we're now really on, we're here to like remind our other human fellow friends and family. We're like, guys, stop stressing. Look at the prison of your mind. Realize that you are the prison keeper and the prisoner, right? So you have a choice to like unlock, de-chain those prison cells, and then become the person on the ride, right? And like, you don't have to be frightened, but let's be all very honest with one another. It's fucking scary sometimes. Emotions we feel, situations that arise, stuff that we see, it's dark, it's shitty, and it's scary. However, we are powerful. And just like Gandalf, we do have the power to battle our dragon demons and then use the fire of that dragon to help us rebuild our lives, to help us rise, to help us really stand in the truth of our integrity, knowing that we're all one, knowing that we are humanity who share one planet, and that we can make choices based on that truth, that we do not any longer have to make choices based on political regimes and corporate dictators and warmongers. Like, we can literally stand that energy down in the unity of our own hearts. Hence the 0 point where like a whole bunch of lids in the mass collective are just getting blown off. And I say that with as much love and compassion as possible. And their awakenings have begun. The beginning of New Earth is well and truly like manifesting. Full disclosure. So huge pockets of humanity are now going to be facing like alien stories and intergalactic meetups, and we're basically healing an we're not just healing like an Earth timeline, but we're healing galactic timelines. We're bringing this entire universal matrix is finding a new harmonic frequency. Good morning, Tim. How are you? So this whole Earth in alignment with the solar system, in alignment with the universe, is like having this rejig, having this upgrade, which is part of this great cosmic celebration, which is part of this whole idea of this light worker community, or the indigos and the star seeds, and those of us who randomly somehow understand about dimensions and consciousness and transformation. Like, what? How do I know all of this? I'm not sure. Because your cells are being activated and you're beginning to remember the truth of your knowing, which is infinite. This is the craziest shit about this stuff. It's completely paradoxical, because we are just these tiny little flecks of like consciousness. But then my favorite topic is light codes. Light codes. And that's a true fair thing. Like, I watched another thing yesterday. I was doing some meditation and relaxation yesterday, and then I saw it, and then more codes started to come in, right? And like, this has only been happening for very visually, as in I've been seeing the actual codes coming in for about 1.5 years. Last year, around the beginning of the year, is when massive, like, I guess you could say Kundalini or sacral chakra, like there was a whole bunch of energetic activations that started happening. And then since then, the momentum has just been like boom, 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 like insights, clarity, depth, solitude, like working things out, massive heart activations. And then that wave has come up again. I think Aluna mentioned it as well, but like back in March, I think February or March, this, for me, it's been about 2 to 3 months. Yeah, certainly increasingly so. These last 2 months has been like new level integration. And this is what I mean about like arriving at a place that we haven't yet arrived. For me, that's been this year. That's why this year was the completion cycle, because there was this last few years for me has been like running to the finish line in like, but having my feet stuck in tar, just like, come on, fuck, like, just keep going, you know, ignore this, ignore that, you can drop that, let go of that, oh, they're not coming along, blah, 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 keep going. And then in this increasing, then it's just been like, okay, go. And these last 2-3 months to me have been the momentum building to this point of like literally the new timelines have arrived. Like we're in this new 0 point. The past is completely done and over. A lot of our multidimensional aspects and timelines that were in a deeper resonance with past timelines, all of it's now being stored and held in the Earth Cache records. So that whole timeline of a reality on a certain frequential existence is over. We're not in these bodies, certainly, ever going to go back to those timelines. And I'm hearing the Dark Lords, but I feel more it's, again, density and streams of energetic frequency. And this is, again, the divide and conquer frequency, the divisive, that's really, really dispersing now. And you know, there is we're still going to be ebbing and flowing. We're still going to be transforming energies, but we're now getting into, and this has to do with also the planetary alignments, which are now in full support of building a new paradigm on the planet, because even the planets are, it's like there's all these different alignments that are, one, helping some of us really step up into that, and then the other one is like letting go. Our bodies go in dirt and spaceships into space. Space. Yeah. Yeah, our spatial consciousness, right? The body suits. These are much, to me anyway, the body is becoming a lot more like just dust, like stardust, like it just, and I don't know if you guys are having more of these. So with the increased downloads of the light codes, we're being upgraded continuously. And again, our meditation, relaxation, like I rest loads, right? Meditation, relaxation, that's all really important because of the body's need to integrate. Now then, often what happens, just like in like the 3D, it's like if we're not getting enough rest, if we're not tuning in, if we're not listening, if we're not, you know, merged with our intuition, merged with our truth and knowing, that's when those symptoms can sometimes get heightened. The headache might get worse. The cold symptoms might get worse. The trigger points might feel a bit more heightened when we're not really taking care of ourselves. That's hence why in these last sort of 6-year cycle, whole bunch of us have just been like forced to do the self-love, because that was like the last piece of total harmonic rebalance, right? Was like all these like insights, clarity, intellectual, blah, 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 blah. But then it was the actual purging of the density of our bodies that's been clearing out, and then creating a better channel for all of us to share more information. It's just this sort of like, I often see creation as just this like ever recycling and blossoming flower of life. Like it's and that's the part of like why in our culture, in that blind kind of veiled culture, there's so much distortion. There's so much like sickly. If you think of this flower, it has to keep dying to keep being born, right? And then we live in this culture that kind of tries to like avoid death. We just want to be like keep blossoming, but it never gets to recycle itself. So that energy is why war, is why darkness, is why it's like our own denied fear is like turning toxic on itself and then becoming a monster outside of us, right? Becoming the fearful projection outside of us, partly because we're all kind of walking around disembodied, as in we're not, our souls are not fully merged with the beingness of our life force. And so we're just acting out these fearful programs. And then as the rise of consciousness is helping us become more aware, we're starting to be able to cut those patterns loose in a tangible, visceral way, because it's in our emotions. It's in the emotional body. And that's a big piece. I know it seems ridiculously simple sometimes, but that's a big piece of spiritual awakening, is remembering that you are the creator, remembering your altar, remembering that it's all right there. And God, the years and years that people would just be like, just love yourself. Morning, girlfriend. Just love yourself. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm trying, but I wasn't sitting with my stuff. I wasn't really healing. I wasn't able to see the depth of healing that needed to occur. I was still more just doing the kind of positive thinking, right? Remembering, hey, you guys, hey, Arwen, I gotta say, like, I love that. And loads of stuff with the elfin energy is coming through as well. I watched some stuff yesterday, and it was just like brrr, elven, the fucking dragons and stuff like that. So I'm not sure for me, because I'm not necessarily like out there like that. But although I gotta say, sometimes when I'm channeling, stuff comes out of my mouth that even my own like small person is like, what the fuck? Like, what are you even talking about? But I keep hearing like the elementals. So maybe that's part of like the next level consciousness, is like actually we're bridging that. So we're it the idea of like the light cities, like, you know, where the elves, they lived in this sort of pristine light, everyone just floated around and it was lovely and fun. You know, that is an idea, vision, imagination for the potential of creative cities, like new, and I know it can seem a little bit out there, but if we think about leaping our consciousness to like, I don't know, higher self, like expansion, right? That when we are upgrading, we're becoming more light filled, which means like the nature of our condition in this reality is becoming softer, more flexible, which means like our cities, even those cities, will become lighter. They'll become more uplifted. I, okay, this is sidestep now. That how is this all coming about, right? Because it comes sometimes these conversations can be fantastic and super fun, but where's the actual leap, right? Okay, and again, not here to instill fear, peeps, but like part of it is the earth and her cycle and the increasing torment as far as natural shape shifting geographical structure. So continents are moving and bodies of water are moving. She's rising too. And this is why a big part of our community is like we've sort of overcome death. We're not frightened of death, right? And that's a big part of this next wave, because on the planetary 3D level, there's still going to be lots of death and destruction and drama. That's still part of the agenda. Even though those of us are aware and have lifted the veil, we're not engaging energetically. We're not feeding it energetically in any way. But we're not unaware of it. You know, we're fully aware, and we can totally hold space. We can just be totally anchored in love and hold space for like the chaos and the seemingly increasing violence and contempt and hatred, and we can just keep holding space and know that this is healing. This is healing ages and ages and ages of darkness. This is healing ages and ages of denial and corrupted aspect on this planet. Entropy. Thank you, Tim. Entropy, the magic between death and creation, the scientific term for the womb of creation. I like it. I do that a lot too. Where the fuck does that come from? Oh, hey, you guys. And then Omega Piscium as well, remembering. And it's something that I'm like, this is where I have so much, like so many ways to grow and learn and refine and expand, and words. The words we use, you know, like it's all interwoven in not just our own chemistry, but in how we're expressing ourselves, right? What did you just say? Oh, remembering, right. So that's a word, and that's part of the new paradigm, you guys, as well. And Tim will know, like those of you who are creatives and writers and stuff, like the way we weave words is part of our own creative swimming, our own creative dance, right? And again, we can shine light, we can lead the way, we can be really, really yeah, I just keep getting this like this subtle, this like tunnel vision of how we're choosing to show up, how we're choosing to create, how we are remembering, right? How we are putting ourselves back together. This is where I talk about in the Fearless Life Guide, trigger, sit with a trigger, detach from the thought, which is usually divisive, let the waves of energy move through you and possibly have a storm. Usually by the time we're storming, this is a huge collective purge. This is a huge collective release. Now it can be very, very obvious on the circumstantial level, but it's up to us to drop in deeper and do the deeper healing and transform the energies. This year, heart activations have been insane. So like the heart activation and the heart frequency level, that's what's ultimately being uplifted, right? That's what's rising. Some of us might experience or think or, again, define it as anxiety or this or that. And actually, it's not. It's high frequency energetic charge moving through us, which is uplifting us becoming more powerful, right? Becoming more awake, becoming more alive and aware of the energetic beings that we are and the window of perception that we're choosing to perceive through. But we can't shift the perception unless we're doing the energy work, right? We tend to just keep going around in circles. We might, change some of the pieces around, but we're not fundamentally shifting. And this shift is a fundamental. So it's like a shift to the point that we're never going to go back to the old, where most of us, in fact, all of us on the planet at this time have only ever known, in as far as our kind of rational memory goes, we've only known this 3D reality. So we think we only know this like broken up, conflicted 3D reality. And then the more we're waking up to more that we're like waking up and being like, what is this actually? What am I doing? More and more and more and more of us are doing that, and then more and more and more of us are sharing it. And it's kind of just that. It's just us sharing more of who we are with one another, which is expanding the information in as far as the light codes go. This transmission, you could say, this attunement is all of us helping to connect on those higher frequencies. And then also what we're doing as these beings, we're then the ones anchoring those grids in. So this has been happening for years and years. I mean, this is that out there stuff that's been in my awareness since the early awakenings. And yet how to communicate that when you're still much more embedded in that 3D reality. And positive thinking is just like a nice self-help thing, right? But then you go do the deeper work and you start to realize there's a scientific backbone to all of this. There is a truth and reality. We just had it all backwards, you could say, right? We had our power outside of us, and this is a reclamation, hence awakening, remembering. We are actually remembering our truth and divinity and then choosing to merge with it and then rising into that state of consciousness and that state of being. And it's us, that next wave, which is then showing more people, hey guys, we don't have to live as slaves no more. Come on, let's have some fun. Fun, but not in a pleasure-seeking kind of way, right? Fun in like a totally empowered, like high frequency level. And then this is like the other polarity, like as much as we have to still like sit with our shame and guilt, those are like some of the shittiest emotions, by the way, like stickiest, like really quite tricky to shift sometimes. Things like jealousy and resentment can often be hidden, and they're tricky for people to expose because people don't want to admit that they have them. So there's those polarities of doing this energy work in my awareness. It's that it's like one thing about like sitting with my shit, right? Sitting with my like, oh god damn it, like I'm still projecting a bunch of bullshit onto men, or like I'm still projecting a bunch of blah, like owning that stuff. And especially more recently now as well, there's like a whole new plethora and host of different emotions that I never had access to before. But it's still weirdly, I don't know if any of you guys get this, but like weirdly, I sometimes find the emotion of ecstasy and bliss like almost as like intense and challenging to sit with as the lower end stuff. So like the anger, the rage is almost more familiar, right? And that's another thing I was getting before going live this morning. Better the devil you know. So like that's often why we don't change or why we don't step out, is that we're afraid, right? So that those fearful emotions are often what we have to get over the other side of. Now, what I'm here to share, again, just from my perspective, going from those deep, darker, like shame, hatred, self-loathing, self-disgust, like jealousy, like everyone is disgusting you, but like going from that paradigm and then moving up the vibrational ladder and now quite regularly hitting up into like the bliss and the ecstasy. Like, I don't know if you guys ever partied and did that stuff, but like it's powerful. Right, Omega, like that. And like, and I'm aware that like, you know how it's like we don't necessarily want to be making like practical grounded decisions when we're in the depths of despair. I'm kind of learning that too, that like I have to learn to just like ground that loving energy so it doesn't just like because it's so heightened. Like you even get it, it's pure natural, right? But you even get it, like last night I was having another massive wave and like my actual pupils were, pardon me, dilated. Is that what you say? My pupils were actually dilated, like being pardon me, high on like ecstasy and totally like blissed out. And I'm like, wow, this is so powerful, because in my mind I'm like, I know that I'm not like on any drugs, and yet I'm like getting all of the same symptoms of like when you're on ecstasy. So and that's part of my share with you guys. The higher we go, we still have to come back to our neutrality. One of you, I think Rochelle, talks about this as well. Like, we can keep flowing in our polarity spectrums, but the remembrance from within ourselves, as far as like power goes, is that we always have this peaceful place within. I didn't realize your interviews. See, and I've had that. I've had interviews with people who asked me about my early awakenings and were like, was it psychedelic? Were you doing drugs? And I mean, I was partying at the time, but I didn't have like a specific awakening on mushrooms or anything like that. I started, I was 20 or 19, and I started being open to that. And I probably was smoking cannabis, but I wasn't I wasn't a big drinker at that point. But yeah, I had the awakenings, and weirdly, it wasn't until after my spiritual awakenings. I'm 20, when? It wasn't until like after my spiritual awakenings that when I did do drugs, I was never like a cool party girl, you know? Like, I kind of, because I thought I was supposed to, like, try to fit into that scene and be like cool or whatever. Like, yeah, try drugs, ooh. But I was never cool, because always like the next day after like a night out or a party, like people would just come up to me or be like, so like, what happened to you? You were just sat in the corner the whole time. And I'd always, like, seriously, the few times I did something like ecstasy and really felt the effects of it, I wouldn't just like party and dance like most normal party people. I'd usually be like under a table somewhere, just like like channeling, like just listening and downloading this epic stuff and being like, oh, trust me, I was partying just in meditation. So certain things, we all have our different experience with those things, don't we? And what I'm learning is that in my more neutral space, right, in my kind of where I'm just peaceful, I can be the observer of those two polarities, find both incredibly fascinating, choose the better feeling once I see the story attached to the other, and then just keep choosing the better. And this is the day of union, you guys, because I feel like I've never felt in human form and beyond actually what I thought was possible. And the balanced state is that we're finally coming into a unified field of our polarities. And so I feel like a fully whole, balanced human being, and the union is within the self. And so suddenly, like, everything shifted. Relationships are back in alignment. You know, there's clarity, there's truth, there's like remembrance of like, oh yeah, I remember her. I know who she is. And I even had a chat with my mom like probably about a week ago. I stood in the mirror. Hey Gia, how are you, girlfriend? I stood in the mirror and I had like a moment, like a sudden flash, and I remember a photograph and I could see her. So I could see this like 4-year-old self dressed in her cute little outfit, looking pretty fucking radical and knowing it, but she was badass, that girl. I'm talking about my 4-year-old self, right? But I'd not been in touch with her. Like, I'd not been vibing that vibe since then, you know? And I've just been consciously outworking loads of social, parental, ancestral programming. And, you know, now I just feel like a free human being, totally sovereign, totally unique to my choosing. Yeah, it's perhaps that is part of it, you guys. I'm reading the Omega Piscium. I'm already so intuitive. And it's that you said something about deciphering metaphysics. It's and other people around me. I'm like, I think that's just part of my life force as well. Like, there's an organizing power it would seem. Like clients who work with me and people who come into my life, the closest relationships, even if it's brief or even if it gets cut loose, there's always an organizing power to the engagement. There's always an upliftment. There's always a getting somebody back on their path, because it's love. Because somehow, for some reason, this practice that's come to me and been a part of me, and yet is totally in alignment with lots of other people's processes and work. It's that we're transforming density, right? We're letting go, and thus we're being uplifted into higher love frequency. And the truth is, just like love is our creative power in the 3D reality, i.e., love draws two people together, they make love, make babies, creation, right? So the higher level of 5th, 6D is just the fact that our co-creative capacity comes from the merging of our soul's intent. So the merging is on a higher level of the soul, and in that merging, those two souls are creating from that higher benevolent space. There's still sacred union, there's still sacred connection, there's still all the fun stuff of relationship, but no longer are we here as humans to be breeders. And I say that specifically, obviously, from a female paradigm, that women's bodies are used to breed, like breeding machines, right? And that's something that we have to awaken to. Again, dark veils, guys. We got some dark corruption to shine out. But it's there. And then women can, again, reclaim their bodies, reclaim their sovereignty, start to enjoy. And then that's the shift that we as women have to make, is that we can then reclaim the wisdom in the cells of our bodies once we've healed a lot of our sexual energy, the sex energy. So like shame, guilt, fear, darkness. Once we heal all of that, we can bring those aspects into the light, start to have higher frequency sex, which then brings in higher manifestation as well. It helps us to be speedier in our manifestation because it's a portal of higher vibration. So, sex is another thing that often people can reach quite high ecstatic states of consciousness, but there again, it's been highly masked, highly distorted. So beings, and the flip side is that a lot of us are programmed to abuse ourselves with sex. So again, we use sex to abuse our bodies or to manipulate and control. Men and women do it to one another ultimately, again, out of fear and out of wounding. We control one another. So sex is definitely the next. This won't be a deeper topic for me. It's pure intuitive. Some of you guys know that. On this occasion, I'm not being guided to ingest external information about it. It's just going to be purely from my own heart and experiential reality. But talking about the power of sex, but again, how we have to allow the healing to happen first within our beings, and we have to let the emotional body heal as well, because the deeper threads happen in waves. So we might have an awakening, and then we start to have heart healing, and then we have a wave of sexual healing, and then it comes back up again, and we start to awaken to a new, broader perspective, and then that awakens the heart, and then that starts to heal and clear out the sexual trauma from, again, past lifetime, ancestral, from our lineage. We carry it in the cells of our body, and that's the great kind of leap we have to make once we start to intellectualize spirituality and transformation. It's an actual scientific process in the way that our 3D construct mind understand, right? It is a process. So there's a cycle, just like the sun's going around, or that, you know what I mean, the other way around. The earth's going around the sun. Is that right? I really know my stuff, you guys. Just like that in cycles, we as beings are like our own mini universe, right? So we in our beingness are like kind of orbiting around. And we can see it in our interpersonal relationships. We can see how we orbit around patterns, cycles, situations, energetic threads. And this is part of my process as well. I know the intuition well enough, and I know I have to follow it. So if I have to reach out for someone, God damn it, I have to reach out to them. If I'm being guided to, if my heart space or mind can't shake something or can't flick something off, it's like you've got to step into it. You got to kind of face it. Even similar, like tough stuff, when we have to maybe let people go, or when we have to change a situation which we know can hurt someone's feelings, it's better just to step into it. And that's something, again, my past cycles and my past relationships have really taught me. God, lying sucks, guys. Like cheating and lying and da-da-da and doing all that shit, that just fucks us up, right? So like, even though it can be really challenging for us, it's super better just to be in our heart space and be honest and step into that. No, We're vortexing into the Milky Way and held in our solar system by the magnetic field. Yeah. See, isn't this amazing though? Okay. And this is what I find just so incredibly fascinating about this reality, you guys, is like we all know our own truth. And like trying to put our truths on one another, and yet resonance. Because all we're ever doing is working with energy in the here now. All we're ever doing is like creating, right? And then the effortlessness of creation means that things will just die when they die. Most of us, we often learn that we can sense something leaving. We know when something's dying, and we know when a cycle has to end, right? What we understand here is like that when we deny it, when we try to push it away, when we try to run away, when we try to escape, when we try to distract ourselves, the inevitable always has to happen. Like the inevitable of letting go, or the inevitable of transformation, the inevitable of death, the inevitability of whatever it is. It's all there for us, and we're witnessing it. I just am a person who like just really wants to live to the full, really wants to come alive, and experienced this growth of life where I noticed people that felt miserable and then just justified the misery. And that's still something I see in a collective dominance, that misery is sort of like the norm, you know, like, oh well, it's just normal, we all hate our jobs, or oh well, it's just normal, like the world is shit, or okay, plastic's gonna fuck it all up. We just sort of like, oh well, it's too hard, oh well, I can't do it. Now that's a generalized caricature, clearly, but there is that bandwidth, you could say, like depending on where you are in the world, you can see that energy. I'm here to learn Virgo traits. I'm Virgo moon. South Node is in Pisces, so I know. And then we have this kind of Capricorn. The nodes are going into Capricorn and Cancer, right? So there's a real charge, and that's my nodal axis. So there's definitely some kind of epic alignments happening in my life now. Thank God. It's been kind of a tough journey. Not that I'm complaining, okay? But it's that entitlement that, again, those of us in earnest, like those of us who do this work in earnest, just like from a benevolent place in our hearts, we're like guys, let's end the madness. My North Node is Pisces, so nice. That's proper kind of healing energy, isn't it, Pisces? So yeah, guys, that's us, right? Stepping in, always choosing. It is bloody there, isn't it? It's choosing. Meditation is what helps us to just better hold space with energy, with emotion, right? Pisces North says, I will enter the healing profession, which you are. Yeah, I mean, so that I think it's just more of the same, right? Like, this is exciting times that we're living in. We're here. We're here for one another. We are connecting. The webs are connected, and now they can only grow. We've literally like the system's collapsed. It's burned down to the ground, and now we're having to rebuild. My chart feels like a big contradiction. I'm only really starting to get into the astrology in these last couple years. And it's fun. Like, I do really dig it. I find it absolutely fascinating. I kind of have a feeling that might be another aspect of my next level, because I'm higher learning, basically. Like another string to my bow. Another string to my bow. So much to learn, right? Well, like, okay, but here's the thing. I want to say like Omega, but I'm not sure if that was right. It never ends. It never ends. Like, this is like a huge part of like the paradox of the now, here, now presence. We're here. Like, that's it. And it never ends. And there's no goal. Hooray, Andrea Hill astrology. That is like the biggest thing. I remember writing that in my book and being like, wow, I am very insightful. I'm like, there's no goal outside of us, you guys. That's like the biggest lie we were ever told. It was like dangling the American dream. Be famous, make lots of money, otherwise you're a piece of poopy shit. Like, da 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 da. And like a bunch of us, we get streamed into that. Block ourselves down, follow the program, do all the right stuff that we're meant to do to be successful, and then at some point we're meant to just accept, like, no, that's not actually real. You're just gonna have to get a normal job and be a slave for the rest of your life, but we're gonna keep dangling this little carrot to make you think that this system is here for you in your favor. You know, and it's worked up into a certain point, but let's be honest, even when it comes to us making changes or us having to dissolve certain egoic aspects that aren't serving us, it can be a challenge. So right now, the whole entire world is literally having a death process. Many humans are having a death process in their own ego, and then having to shapeshift and figure out who the fuck they are and what they really want to do. And this is from this new awakened space of like the heart is now open. The human heart is now open, and we are literally rebuilding the world. I know, Rochelle. Like I said, I just want to heal and travel, but I'm also really sleepy, so I need to sleep and rest. And but we're all, any of us on the path of awakening, or this idea of upliftment and rising ourselves up. In essence, we're all healers to a certain degree because we're endeavoring our true healed state. So the healed state of consciousness, and again, that looks different for all of us. And that is an instant choice, you know, in the present moment. But most of us have, I call it the karmic backlog, right? Most of us have a sense of patterned, repetitive defaulting that we kind of have to outwork before we can come back to the wholeness, or before we remember the feeling of the wholeness. Because once we remember the feeling of the wholeness, we can actually navigate and keep ourselves there and keep ourselves balanced. And then we can also intuitively navigate next level. I still have like I know in my own life and reality, like I still have a lot of stuff that I'm working through, you know, like there's still a lot of things that I'm acting out and things that I'm doing that I'm working with on a level, and I'm not fully like transparent about it. I know that, like, I know I'm still like working with aspects of myself, but then I know that I will continue to be transparent as and when it's useful for myself, for you guys to keep sharing on the journey. Hence what I was saying before about once these 4 courses are done, I'm going to be publishing the Sex and Feminine Cycle course with Katie probably. We're going to collab on another one. I felt some heavy shit yesterday, just said it out loud and worked through it. I love being able to acknowledge it and move to it through. Is learning. Exactly. This is where we can totally contain our whole experience, is that even when we're escaping or distracting or we're still it. We're still present. We can't not be who we are. We can't not do the things we want to do. We can't not discover and explore the things that our beingness wants to explore. And if we do, we're just in denial. We're in denial. And then that distorts and thwarts, and it usually manifests as something else, as something darker, as something ickier, right? You guys, it's coming up to an hour. I've had such good fun talking to you. I gotta say, I was pretty like sleepy this morning. I was thinking like, maybe I could just skip it. Maybe I could just skip my live share. And then I didn't, and I'm really glad I didn't, because this is like, I gotta show up for you guys, man. This is a special day. I would highly recommend some like rituals or ceremonies. Dropping into your gooey space. And here this morning, let's just be like high-fiving each other and be like, we're awesome creators, you guys. Transformation is the only thing we can't avoid. I'm trying to help from above and stay out of these bodies. We all are. We're all doing that massively. Hence the like closing the gap of disparity in our higher imagination here on this planet. I love listening to you, my dear. Could I have hurt somebody? What was that? What? I love ritualistically hurt somebody. No. Yeah, for me, the theme, and this is not like hurt with loving, of course. yeah, this is just a continual honing of everything that we already know and everything we've already been doing. And next level for a lot of us is like next level with relationship, next level with love. There might be a lot more stuff, a lot more taboo, a lot more stuff being talked about when it comes to sexuality. Woohoo! 11:11. Oh, I'm so happy with you guys. Yeah, we do. We earn our brownie points, don't we? We earn our insight, clarity, momentum, revelation, aha. We earn that through being open to learning. Which again, something in the 3D, sometimes we're too fixated on knowing and achieving and being right, and hence we slide into that polarity, and that's why often people get those underlying anxiety and depression stuff come up, because they're actually like still in avoidance. They're still in their pain body. Ah, yes, you guys! Yes! Yes! There's just such awesome excitement to be alive, and I just like, yes, I'm just giving you guys like massive virtual hugs, because let's be honest, some of us, it's just like, fucking hell, we have waited a long time for this. We have waited a long time for this energetic frequency to hit, and for us to hit with it and unify with it, and then start the flow, the ebb and flow, and be the shiny, brilliant examples for our brothers and sisters of, it's okay, you guys, we got this. Because we do got this, because it's all in here. It's not actually out there. We just have to pull our power back in and integrate. Virtual hugs back at you, Andrea. You guys, I don't know what I'm doing with this. It feels a bit aggressive to me, so I don't. Oh, I love you guys loads. Thank you so much for being here, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you, and vice versa. So like, again, and even the people we don't like very much, let's be honest, we gotta love everybody, you guys. And all of us have loads of like random to work through. So the best thing is just love yourself fully, uncondish, follow the intuition. Trust your resonance, which is kind of trusting the intuition anyway. So if things don't resonate, it's okay. You're not here to please people. You're here to awaken and be free. Come on, we're all here to be free. Remember? Remember? We're here to be free and vibrate the love vibration. And that love vibration is what's transforming all of the nations, you guys. But remember, in our own beingness, transformation is healing wounds like darkness and pain. So it means that as the collective of this planet Earth is healing, what we're exposing and what we can see are the wounds. You know? The war, the conflict, we're just seeing our own wounding reflecting back to us, you know? So I'm just sending out a massive love bubble to all of you guys, and I wanna remind us as these kind of awakened beings to keep shining and to keep sharing, and to remember that you are the truth, you are the way, you are your own teacher and student of life, and remember to keep finding that love and compassion. Understand through compassion, or we misunderstand the times, right? So to remember to always find that peaceful resolution in your own heart, and then to keep making decisions from that higher mind and that place of love, benevolence, grace, serenity. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, Sunday sessions live, 6 a.m. UK time. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in, you guys. Thank you for your comments, and have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you are. Andrea, Rochelle, Omega, you guys, Tim, just be yourselves and have a just beautiful, beautiful day, you guys. I love you so much. I'm so thankful for you. Like, my love and gratitude is an overflow for you guys today. So let's enjoy the portal. Let's stay really open-hearted, really clear, really positive, and maybe do some fun manifestation stuff, like write some dreams down, or do some self-love practices, or just ritualize your own, you are the creator and the created, right? Remember that. We're the totality. We're the wave and the ocean. We just forgot. So remember and reclaim the power of your heritage. Remember that you are all that you see and all that you feel, but you're not really, because you're also the voidal container, the voidal container that's allowing you to have the experience of these emotions and these. You're that and this and this and that. It's just kind of a head spin because our heads and minds got programmed to a different computer program. We're all getting our program is being upgraded now. There's always a flip side. Take care, you guys. I love you loads. Peace out.